The funerals have ended, and weeks have passed since the deadly shooting at the Robb Elementary School in Uvalde. But in this Texas town, shock and deep emotional pain still linger. The world now knows Uvalde as the place where a gunman entered a classroom and fired a military-grade assault rifle, killing 21 innocent people.
When you can't walk, when you can't get up.
Many residents wonder if they can ever get back to life as it was before the massacre. Details about the attack continue to emerge. In a video testimony, one of the survivors, 11-year-old Mia Cerrillos, told U.S. lawmakers how she used her friend's blood to survive the massacre.
He shot my friend that was next to me, and I thought he was going to come back to the room, so I grabbed the blood and I put it all over me. And
what did you do then when you put the blood on yourself?
just stay quiet, and then I got my teacher's phone and called 911.
And what did you tell 911?
I told her that we need help and to send the police in our classroom.
The 18-year-old gunman, Salvador Ramos, was a local high school student. Those who knew him say he was a loner who experienced bullying, but he had no criminal record or known mental health issues. Days before he opened fire, Ramos purchased 2 AR-style combat rifles and hundreds of rounds of ammunition. Shortly after the bloodiest school shooting in Texas history, gun owners were back at the shooting range. Many Texans believe it's important to know how to handle firearms, including weapons used in war zones. Many others are deeply worried about the possibility of future attacks on their loved ones.
In cities and small towns across Texas, amid this heated debate over how to prevent future shooting tragedies, Texans appear open to 2 possible solutions: fewer guns or more guns.
Guns have played a prominent role in defining Texas culture, according to historian Brennan Gardner Rivas. Her research shows that gun control measures here predate statehood.
1874.
In 1870, Texas had strict gun laws aimed at preventing former slaves and displaced Native Americans from owning firearms. To this day, men wielding weapons are a symbol of law and order for many Texans. This is Central Texas Gun Works, an Austin-based gun shop owned by Michael Cargill. He spends his days talking with customers about the proper use of firearms.
Well, in Texas, we are a pro-Second Amendment state, so it's all love for us here in Texas. If you go to other states, that may be a different story. But in Texas, we love firearms, and this country and this state was actually founded on guns.
Cargill says the state of Texas does require background checks by the FBI. If his customers pass inspection, they can obtain a handgun by age 21. For long barrel guns, like shotguns or assault rifles, you must be at least 18 years old.
I don't think we can add new laws to the book that's going to, stop a crazy person from doing what they're going to do. Guns are a tool. Vehicles are a tool. Knives are a tool. Those are not the problem. The tools are there. They're not the problem. The problem is we need to get these people to realize if there's something wrong, let's get them some help. Let's get them some counseling. Let's lock them up and put them in jail.
The school shooting in Uvalde has further divided Texans over whether to place tighter restrictions on access to guns and ammunition. 5 days after the Robb Elementary School massacre, U.S. President Joe Biden and his wife, First Lady Jill Biden, paid their respects.
We need to ban assault weapons and high-capacity magazines. And if we can't ban assault weapons, then we should raise the age to purchase them from 18 to 21. Strengthen background checks. Enact safe storage law and red flag laws. Repeal the immunity that protects gun manufacturers from liability.
3 days after the school massacre, the National Rifle Association held its 150th convention in Houston. The NRA promoted the event as 14 acres of guns and gear. Governor Abbott decided against attending the convention of the largest gun lobby in the United States. Many who did come also support the Republican Party's strong shift to the extreme right. The Texas chapter of the Proud Boys, a far-right white nationalist organization, made their presence known. Also in attendance, former U.S. President Donald Trump, who received $30 million from the NRA for his 2016 presidential campaign. Trump gave his plan for preventing more school shootings.
What we need now is a top-to-bottom security overhaul at schools all across our country. Every building should have a single point of entry. There should be strong exterior fencing, metal detectors, and the use of new technology to make sure that no unauthorized individual can ever enter the school with a weapon. And above all, from this day forward, every school in America should have a police officer or an armed resource officer on duty at all times.
Shut it down! Shut it down! Shut it down!
Across the street, behind 2 layers of police barricades, protesters on the other side of the debate blamed the NRA for widespread gun violence in Texas.
No Trump, no KKK, no fascist USA!
For me, it's very important for this to become very real because it's very easy to feel as though it's just another face, it's just another shooting. But at the end of the day, we don't consider how even one person's death affects an entire community. So multiply that by however many other people have been killed.
Polls show that most Texans, like 21-year-old Aliyah Pozo, a psychology student, support universal background checks. Most Texans also support red flag laws.
Telling people that you want to take away their guns in Texas is terrible. They don't want to listen to that. And so my second alternative to that is as much legislation as possible to make it difficult for people to have access to weapons like this.
Joshua Blank is the research director of the Texas Policy Project at the University of Texas at Austin. He says Uvalde generated a significant spike in attention toward gun safety in Texas, significantly more compared to other high-profile mass shootings. But he says attention to the problem also waned more quickly.
Well, Democrats overwhelmingly view lax gun control laws as the primary contributor to these kinds of tragedies. Among Republicans, the majority, and their plurality, in most cases, the majority tend to cite individual factors, whether that be failures of the mental health system, the actions of evil individuals influenced by media and other sorts of negative influences.
In several recent polls, Blank and his team gave Texas voters this question: would the U.S. be a safer place if more people owned guns?
Is that about 3/4 of Democrats believe that this would make the U.S. less safe, and almost 2/3 of Republicans think it makes the U.S. more safe. And so when we hear this idea about a good guy with a gun, ultimately this kind of argument has a lot of credence, and especially with Republican voters.
Some Texans who support the right to own firearms are changing their minds about tightening restrictions when it comes to owning a gun. That's the case with actor Matthew McConaughey, who is from Uvalde. He and his wife traveled there after the massacre. They heard stories about the victims. One stood out.
Maite wore green high-top Converse with a heart she had hand-drawn on the right toe because they represented her love of nature. Camilla's got these shoes. Can you show these shoes, please? Wore these every day. Green Converse with a heart on the right toe. These are the same green Converse on her feet that turned out to be the only clear evidence that could identify her after the shooting. How about that?
Gun violence has left a permanent mark on this small Texas town. The mostly Mexican-American community continues to mourn its dead, and many here wonder if this terrible incident might eventually help change the hearts and minds of others in Texas and across the United States when it comes to firearms restrictions.